Today, I want to give you guys a comprehensive overview of what flexible dieting is. Now, flexible dieting is often termed if it fits your macros. This approach emphasizes flexibility and personal choice while still aiming to meet one's health and fitness goals. Understanding flexible dieting. Flexible dieting, or if it fits your macros, it's based on the idea that there is not a single perfect diet for everyone. Instead, it emphasizes the importance of meeting your individual macronutrient goals, proteins, carbs, fats, while still allowing for a really broad range of foods. Now, why is this so important? Well, you've probably have tried things in the past like a ketogenic or a carnivore or Atkins or Whole30 or paleo diet. And while these things all work to a point, they probably stop working at a point. And that is because they are not sustainable. For example, with a ketogenic diet, the odds of you not having carbohydrates the rest of your life are extremely low. So it's not a matter of if that diet fails, it's when it fails, because you're not going to make it through Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, holidays for the rest of your life and not have a carbohydrate. Same thing with a carnivore-based diet. Same thing with a paleo diet. If you guys have kids, the odds of you eating paleo your whole life are very low. So those systems all tend to fall apart over time. With flexible dieting, we understand, hey, we're going to incorporate these things. Let's make sure that they're accounted for and still hit our goals. This allows you to think much more long-term with your planning. First, we have to understand the macronutrient breakdown. Now, to follow this way of eating, we have to understand the macronutrients and the role that they play in our bodies. Proteins, for example, they're essential for muscle repair and growth. So if you want to be lean and strong looking, you have to get adequate amounts of protein. Fats are also important because they are crucial for hormone production and overall cellular health. They also are wildly important for cognitive function. And finally, carbohydrates. Now, these are the body's primary energy source. These are often demonized, but they are huge and important for performance. If you are strength training and adequately want to fuel your workouts so you can build tissue, we need to be getting carbohydrates in. Now, flexible dieting requires you to track and adjust these three macronutrients based on your goals. Whether that's losing weight, building more muscle tissue, or having a recomposition, which is where we maintain a body weight and lose body fat while building muscle, no matter which way we spin it, tracking has to happen. The principles of it fits your macros. The core principle of this way of eating is that as long as your food choices fit within your set macronutrient goals, you can eat what you like. Now, theoretically, this means you can include foods like pizza, ice cream, in my case, Sour Patch Kids, provided they fit into your macronutrient goals for the day. And this flexibility allows people to adhere to this long term. And I like to say maximum sustainability results in maximum attainability. So if we have a desired outcome, well, if we have a plan that we can operate on a long enough timeline consistently, it makes getting there a certainty. And that's really what I love about flexible dieting, and if it fits your macros, it doesn't force you into a really restrictive way of eating. So there are three things that we need to start flexible dieting. One, we have to determine what your goals are. We're trying to lose fat, we're trying to build muscle, we're trying to have a recomp. All three really good goals, but first we have to determine those goals so that we can then, number two, calculate your macronutrient distribution. Now, this will be based off of your current activity level, your basal metabolic rate, or how many calories we burn while at rest. And your coach is going to help give you these initial targets, and we'll adjust them accordingly throughout different phases of this journey. And number three, we need to track your intake. I cannot stress this enough. Tracking your intake and being an accurate data collector is the most important part of this process. We're going to use a tracking app like MyFitnessPal to track your macronutrient consumption and ensure that we're consistently hitting our targets. So the first thing is sustainability. Now, I've talked about this a little bit already, but the best nutrition plan is one that we can follow in the long term. What the sustainability of this looks like, well, we no longer have to stress over social situations. If we have pizza night with the family, we don't have to say, oh my gosh, I can't have pizza. Sure, are you going to eat a whole entire pizza by yourself? Probably not. But can you have a couple slices of pizza? Absolutely. Two, it allows for more variety. We not to just be relegated to, oh my gosh, I only can eat off of this food list, or I can only have chicken, broccoli, and rice to get healthy. It removes that false dichotomy and allows us to have a much more balanced approach. And three, this takes into personal preference into account. Lifestyle factors such as having kids, maybe having a spouse that's vegan. It allows us to adjust for all of those things and still hit our goals. Some considerations when we begin to track our food and follow a more flexible dieting approach. One, tracking. Diligent tracking is of paramount importance. Our outputs are only going to be a product of really good inputs. So we have to make sure that we're collecting accurate data so we can make informed decisions. Two, we want to have balance when doing this. While you theoretically could eat nothing but Sour Patch Kids and protein shakes and hit your targets and probably reach your ideal physique, you are going to feel like hot garbage doing so. And also, you are going to have suboptimal health markers. So think long-term illness, the likelihood of that happening increases. That's why it's really important that we try to get 80% of our nutrition to come from really whole foods, and that remaining 10 to 20% can be more flexible, fun things. The other consideration is flexibility versus discipline. While it's great to incorporate a pizza, for example, if you know that you struggle to have just one slice, if you have pizza and it turns into a 2-day bender of eating pizza and then going out the next day, we probably should avoid pizza for the time being until we get some consistency under our belt and then incorporate things like that. What about peak performance foods? Well, first, what are peak performance foods? Peak performance foods are a list of foods that we have found with clients that reduce inflammation. So if you're carrying a lot of extra water weight, if your joints hurt, this will help alleviate a lot of that and shunt some of that inflammation initially. What we can then do is make this the bulk of our nutrition protocol and then fit things in outside of this. Now, this list is not all inclusive. What we say is try to build your foundation from this list and then start branching out. And the clients that get the best results tend to follow this list for 2 to 3 weeks rather rigidly initially to get them a solid foundation that they can then build from. So I really advise doing that. Again, you do not have to. It is personal preference, but it makes it much more easy to hit your targets when doing so. In front of you, you'll see 2 days right now. Both of these days, you hit 2,000 calories as evidenced up top. Both these days, we hit 185 grams of protein, 180 grams of carbs, and 60 grams of fat. Now, in example 1, a normal day. So this is what the large majority of this person's days would look like. Pretty whole, nutritious foods, everything fits in pretty cohesively, good amount of food, awesome, hit their targets. Now day 2, it's a normal day plus a pizza night with the family. Now, if you're having pizza night with the family, what I recommend doing is plugging that in first to start your day, even before you eat the thing. So if you're having pizza at night, well, when we wake up, we're gonna plug in what we're going to eat at dinner. I'm gonna have 2 pieces of pizza and a breadstick in this example. So we see that those 2 pieces of pizza and a breadstick are about 700 calories total. Awesome. So what does that mean for us? Well, that's probably going to take more of our carbs and fats for the day and not give us so much protein. So we'll have to make some adjustments. We see at breakfast, we typically have 3 eggs. Well, it looks like today, instead of doing eggs, we're doing egg whites because they're much lower in fat. We also see that at our snack time, we typically have peanut butter with our snack. Well, today we're just having the yogurt. We see that we also usually have a snack that is ground beef. What you'll see in front of you right now are 2 different days. We have an example of a normal day of eating where we stick to whole foods for the most part. We hit all of our targets of 185 grams of protein, 180 grams of carbs, and 60 grams of fat, resulting in 2,000 calories. Example 2 is our normal day, plus we have pizza for dinner with the family. Now, when you are having something like an event out or dinner with the family that you're going to be something off plan, I like to plug those things in first to start my day. Even though I'm having it for dinner, I'll plug it in so I can see what the budget of the rest of my day looks like. In this example, we see that we're having 2 pieces of medium Pizza Hut dinner and a breadstick. Pretty awesome little dinner, right? 700 calories. We know that it's going to be more carbs and more fat when we plug this in. So we have to take away in other areas. Typically for breakfast, we do 3 eggs. Looks like in this example, we're doing egg whites. Typically for our snack, we will have yogurt with peanut butter. Today, it looks like just yogurt. So we're making some changes and just adjusting things around. And that's really the beauty of the system because both these days result in 2,000 calories and hitting our macronutrient goals. And you don't have to feel bad about it because we're still on track and you had pizza, which is awesome. Now, some final thoughts and considerations. If it fits your macros, provides the freedom to enjoy a large variety of foods while still hitting your targets. And what's most important is that finding that this is actually a lifestyle. It's not a diet, it's more of a philosophy that we can stick to long term and adhere to. The really important parts of this, though, are that we are getting balance, we are tracking consistently, and we're making informed decisions, asking ourselves, does this take me closer or further from my goals before we do it? It's going to help reframe. This is not only effective, but it allows an enjoyable and sustainable way to eat in the long run.